What's up guys, welcome to the video. So after the last drift event, it was fairly obvious that the 328 Ti was not doing too well, to say the least. One of the first things I wanted to do is test the compression on the engine because like I was mentioning in the last video, on first startup, like when the car's cold, there's almost always like a fat plume of white smoke that comes out the rear, which to me means that there is most likely coolant getting into the combustion chamber, which would mean that we potentially have a blown head gasket. I ended up doing a compression test a few days ago, so I'm gonna cut over to that footage and then I'll kind of break down what I think of the results. Stop. Stop. Well, I think I found a blown head gasket. Yeah, there's coolant on that spark plug. All right, Kellen, wide open throttle and crank this fucking thing over. Stop. It's higher. It's like 220.
Wait, leave it. Let it sit.
No, it's holding. That doesn't make any sense. All right, we're gonna do cylinder 3 one more time. All right, give her a go. Stop. Yeah, about the same. I mean, it dropped a little bit. I mean, it's settling like 210. Stop. 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 So yeah, it's fairly obvious that I have a blown head gasket on cylinder 3, which is pretty unfortunate. Thankfully, the car is still running fine, so honestly, doing the head gasket right now is not really at the top of my list. I really just need to make sure that I keep temperatures down and make sure that I don't do any further damage to the engine. It was really confusing to me why there would be the highest compression on the cylinder with the blown head gasket though. Part of my reasoning initially was that maybe the coolant that's getting in the cylinder would artificially inflate the compression numbers, but to me, I don't think something as thin and watery as coolant would be able to raise the compression that high, kind of like what would happen if there was oil in the cylinder when you do the compression test. So I'm still scratching my head on that one. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments because I really want to try and figure out why that would be the case. The next thing I wanted to address is why the engine was losing power when I would be hot lapping the car over at Spirit Peaks. Like I mentioned before, my hypothesis around that would kind of be that with the tune that I'm running, it raises the rev limiter up to 7,200 RPM, whereas I believe stock, the engine only revs out to 6,500 RPM. So I believe having the RPM so high and keeping them so high for so long is causing the oil to get really hot and it's starting to thin out really quick. So I did some research, I hopped online, and turns out that there are actually a lot of people who run anywhere from like 1550 oil to like 2050 oil. So I think that's what I'm going to end up doing with this car. I'm probably going to bump up to 1550. That's what my buddy Travis runs in his E36, and he says it works perfectly fine. If my thinking is correct, and you guys can correct me down below if you want, once the oil gets too hot and it starts to lose its viscosity, the engine can't produce enough oil pressure. And if I'm losing power across the entire power band, that would tell me that the Vanos isn't able to get the oil pressure that it needs, and it's just not really working correctly. So yeah, I'm hoping once I hop over to 1550, that'll kind of alleviate all the issues and we won't have problems hot lapping the car like we were before. There is something else, though, that I believe could also be affecting the integrity of the oil, and that's going to be the first thing that we're going to be working on today. Last time I took a look at the oil on the engine, I pulled out the dipstick and I gave it a bit of a sniff, and it's obviously contaminated with a pretty healthy amount of fuel. So I went over to AutoZone earlier and I picked up some fuel injector cleaner. Unfortunately, I threw away the can at the gas station before I even got a chance to show you. So I'll put up a picture right here of what it is. It's liquid moly. It's their injector cleaner. It has really good reviews, and I'm hoping that will help with any potential leaky fuel injectors that might be causing fuel to get down into the cylinders and leach down into the oil. But along with that, I figured I might as well just kind of refresh the fuel injectors in general because they were looking pretty icky when I initially put the engine together. So I went ahead and hopped on eBay and I picked up a fuel injector rebuild kit. This kit comes with absolutely everything. Comes with all the O-rings, all the spacers, all the caps for the fuel injectors and new filters, and even the tool to get out the old filters. Alrighty, so I went ahead and bled off all the pressure in the fuel system. I ended up having to take out this relay right here in the middle. This is the fuel pump relay. So now we can go ahead and pop this fuel rail off. So there are actually two things you have to remove before you can actually get out these fuel injectors. There's one clip that holds the fuel injector to the fuel rail, and then there's another little clip on the electrical connector that you have to get out. Come on. Oh, there we go. Oh, there was still a bit of fuel in there. That's unfortunate. Come on. Come on. Holy, that O-ring does not want to come out there, do it? Ah, bitch. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Not a fan of sizzling. Hot gas on hot head. Not good mixture. I just gotta get out one more fuel injector. This is where like the majority of the excess fuel is gonna be sitting, which I'm not a fan of. The last couple fuel injectors that I took out, when the gas started dripping down, it was making like a sizzle sizzle noise, and I heard like a pop, which was, it's frightening. That's very scary. Thankfully we got a fire extinguisher right in the garage, so. You know, I'm actually gonna grab that right now. Boom, fire extinguisher. Now we are plenty safe. Come on, don't be too, fuck, that bolt is so hot. I'm putting gloves on. I should have had gloves on to begin with. Come on. Oh, there wasn't actually that much in there. Yeah, it's fine. Beautiful. And now we have all the fuel injectors out. And as you can see, these things are absolutely butt crusty. Alrighty, so rebuilding these injectors is broken down into 5 specific parts. You have the O-ring up top that goes to the fuel rail. You have this little plastic spacer down here. And then you have the O-ring that goes into the intake manifold. You have this cap on the end. I forget the specific name of it, but there is a specific name for that. And then you also have this filter that sits up here on the side that goes into the fuel rail. So first thing I'm gonna do with this one, I'm just gonna take off the old O-rings. Realistically, I should be using a pick for this, but obviously I don't have one, so we're just gonna have to use this flathead. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take off this cap, which from what I understand can be kind of a pain sometimes. So we're just gonna try our best to get this off without damaging the tip of the injector. Actually, first thing I might try to do is just take off this O-ring so I have more room to get up underneath that cap. There we go. Oop, hey, it just broke in half. That thing was ready to go. I think I'm just gonna kind of try and like push it off the top. This is not going how I expected. This thing's been a pain. All right, so I was finally able to get that goddamn cap off, and now we can actually get the spacer out. With that cap off, I just want to get in here and then just kind of give the end a nice little wipe down, make sure it's looking nice and clean. Thankfully, this tip doesn't look like it was too clogged. Now this little tool is what we're going to be using to get out this little filter on the inside. From what I understand, we just end up screwing this in to here and then just kind of like yanking it out. Okay, now the tool stopped, and I think we can just pull her out. Maybe we use the turn and pull method. Come on. Oh, that didn't do what I thought it did. Oh, did it work? Oh, hey, look at that. But anyways, you can see the filter is stuck on the end of there. All right, now from what I understand, I believe you kind of just put the filter in there, something like that. And I believe you kind of just press it in somehow. Alrighty, so yeah, so I kind of just seated the filter in there and then pressed it on a hard surface to kind of get it seated. And then I kind of tapped it in with the end of a screwdriver, and it just comes out flush with the top of the fuel injector. Now we can go ahead, grab a spacer, pop the spacer on there. And we'll go ahead, put on an O-ring. Then we can go ahead and pop on one of the plastic caps. Boom. Then we just have one more O-ring to put on the top side. Boom. Just like that, we have a rebuilt fuel injector. Now, I just need to do that 5 more times. Gosh, look at how much crud ends up being on the end of these fuel injectors. Like, at first glance, they don't look terrible, but once you go to wipe them off, there is just so much gunk. You know, I've got to say, that little screwdriver, it's doing a very good job at getting these in. Because, like, pressing them in, like, it works, but it takes a ton of force. But just, like, nice little taps on the end, like, it just gets it in absolutely no problem. Boom, and just like that, we have 6 essentially new rebuilt injectors. Now, of course, installing these things is essentially the same as removing them, just in reverse order. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these back into the car, and then we're gonna give the car a start, make sure we don't have any leaks anywhere. All right, I got all the fuel injectors back in, got everything back hooked up. So now it's time to give this thing a start and make sure it's not spraying fuel everywhere. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna prime the pump. I didn't hear it prime. Okay, there. I heard it prime. Let's go make sure it's not leaking from the fuel rail anywhere. Everything is looking pretty good. Yeah, let's start her up. No gas spraying out anywhere. Hell yeah. Success. You know, I've got to say, rebuilding those fuel injectors was actually like kind of therapeutic in a way. It was kind of nice just being able to like sit there and just like fiddle with things and just have like a process that I was doing over and over again. Because by the end of it, like I was pretty quick at it. Like I was able to get all of them done in probably like 20-25 minutes. So it honestly wasn't that bad of a job. I'll put the link down in the description to the rebuild kit that I got. I got it off eBay. It was something like 17 bucks, something like that. So if you have old fuel injectors that just haven't been changed, like they're just stock fuel injectors that have been in the car, might be worth it to give them a rebuild. I mean, it's cheap enough, easy enough, and you might see some added benefits from it. Now, I was debating popping off the valve cover to see if we actually do have a crack back here on the valve cover, but I think I'm going to hold off on that for now, just until I get a new gasket at least, so that if I do end up finding there's no crack, then I can just reseal it up and pop back on it and not have any worries. But there is one last thing I want to get done in this video that I've been putting off for absolutely way too long, and that is some exhaust gaskets. If you guys remember when I was going to get this thing ready for its first drive, I got the exhaust all on and I realized that I forgot to put the gaskets on, and it was just such a pain getting up there that I didn't feel like taking it back off to put the gaskets on. So, you know, I had to bite the bullet at some point, and that some point is right now. All right, so unfortunately, I was hoping to get this thing up on like jack stands to have plenty of room up underneath there, but all the jack stands are being used because Gabe is doing an engine swap on the silver car, and his old black car is still on jack stands. So we're just gonna be on ramps, which is gonna make it super tight under there. But thankfully, it looks like I'm just able to slide up underneath the front, and it shouldn't be too bad. So not only do I not have gaskets on either of these, I'm also missing a bolt on this one. And as you can see, it's been absolutely spewing stuff out of there. Like it's like all up on the side of the engine, up on the oil pan. And it's just overall not fun and makes stupid noises when I'm driving. Man, you know, everything was going so good. I was able to just like take off the nuts for the exhaust, drop the exhaust down, slip on the gaskets and get the exhaust back up, and then this happened. Man, why can't things just like go smooth? I didn't think I cross-threaded it, but I'm pretty sure I cross-threaded it, and obviously I tried too hard, and you know, that's what you get. So hey, I mean, at least I have a bolt in the hole that didn't have a bolt before. But now we have that. I swear, one day I will have a complete non-leaking exhaust. I don't know, maybe it might not leak. But I mean, regardless, I still have the leak at the mid-pipe, which I need to get like the little ring for. But here, let's see how it sounds now. Maybe it'll be fine. Maybe it'll sound fine. Grab the keys. Okay, let's go. Sounds exactly the same. Absolutely the same. Let's see if it's still leaking under there. You know? Surprisingly, I don't think it's leaking from that spot anymore. So I think all that raspy, messy shit is just like the remnants of all that crap that was in the exhaust when we put it on. Also probably mixed with the exhaust leak that's still in the mid-pipe. But hey, now I got gaskets, so that's cool. I think that's going to do it for this video though, guys. Didn't really have a whole lot to do today, but we got some solid stuff done. Hopefully the car will be running better. Hopefully I won't have as much fuel leaking in the oil. And you know, we got no leak up from the exhaust. But hey, next video is a very exciting one. I wouldn't say I'm really keeping a secret from you guys, but I did make a bit of an impulsive purchase, which I'm really excited about. And I hope you guys are really excited to see. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope you all have a nice day, and I will see you in the next one.